What's up, everybody? Happy Wednesday. We got quite the lineup for you today. Before we get into it, make sure you subscribe to Point Forward wherever you listen to your podcast and follow us on all social channels at Point Forward. First off today, we're talking why the NBA 65 game rule is here to stay. We dive into booking Steph's losses despite scoring 50 or more. Statistically, how often does the high score games even lead to a dub? Then we ask, what is Adrian Griffin thinking right now? And lastly, our guest on the pod this week is Joakim Noah.
That was fun. That was a fun interview. That was a lit interview.
Hold on, I got a question for you.
Talk to me.
Do we go, I don't know if this is tooting my horn or is talking down on people, but do we go over a lot of folks' heads?
Bro, I think so, bro. And to be honest with you, I'm not even gonna toot my own horn because y'all don't give me enough credit to go over your head. So, you know what I mean? So when I do, just feel dumbfounded, dumbass. Right,
I like ending on that. Boom. That's perfect. Now, you already know what it is. Point Forward is presented by DraftKings Fantasy Sports. Check out what DraftKings has to offer this season with code POINTFORWARD. Because life's more fun when you're in on the action. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Age and eligibility restrictions apply. Void where prohibited. See DraftKings.com for details.
So, bro, is anybody still watching the Grammys? Like, did you see that Jay-Z thing? 'Cause I feel like I tweeted about it last night. I only saw the highlights, but I watched the whole speech, and it seemed like it inspired everybody's social media.
You know how you have certain things happen that you see, and then it just brings everything full circle on how it happened in the past?
Yeah.
So when Jay said he went on a ramble about the Grammys.
Yeah, I watched the three minute. Yeah.
That's the only thing I saw.
Yeah.
I was out working. I don't see TV anymore. It is what it is. And he was saying, some of y'all don't belong in your own categories. And then he said, I'm sorry, I'm done. All right, no more. I tell the truth when I get nervous.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I thought of every fine that I've gotten in my interviews over my NBA career. Because I was feeling something, but I'm nervous as to, I don't want to come out of my mouth what I'm thinking. And I gave you the nice version, and it still got fined.
Yeah.
And so I was thinking like, yo, yeah, when I get nervous, I tell the truth.
That's real. I feel like everybody Twitter was like that. I feel like I just be talking shit, apparently. Apparently.
But it was a beautiful moment hearing the bigger message, Jay speak on how far hip-hop has come. It was the Andre Young, Dr. Dre Award.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was crazy, yeah.
Crazy, because we brought it all the way
Impact
back.
Award. It was not like hip-hop award, the Impact Award.
And just what he's done for the culture, how he's moved it forward. You know, nobody was talking about wearing button-ups and wearing suits, you know, having art. Because art you can insure against, and then art you can take a loan out against, and then art you don't have to pay taxes on. You can pass it on to create generational wealth. All those things people don't really understand about how he's trying to lift up the community, although he's not physically there.
Yeah,
right? So it's all inspiring.
Or you say, y'all call it bougie. I say, fine, I'm trying to give you $1 million worth of game for free 99.
You can't be spoken better than that.
Can't be, bro.
And so he was just speaking a lot of life when he was talking, and I was in the back of an Uber coming from a meeting, and I was able to like really digest the conversation. But remember, like growing up, or like we were first in the league, like those moments where African Americans were on the main stage, there was like a real presence to it. Like when Kanye would do his thing, or when you see like special performances, like there was big conversations and inspiration that came from it. And I feel like that's kind of lost its luster. I don't know why. Maybe it's the new generation we're in, where you're just consuming things on a, you know, what is this, 4x6-7 device?
Yeah.
And so I don't know.
I know it's one thing though, and I think it's like kind of allude to when Uncle Shay Shay was saying that Beyonce isn't as big of a star as Taylor Swift. But if you're looking at some of those clips from there, I feel like Beyonce had a line around out the door trying to get a picture with the Queen.
Yeah, because it's been It's been an interesting year surrounding Taylor Swift,
Yes.
NFL. You were just talking to me about the numbers. I would love for you to share them with me because it was just like, I'm like, huh? Trying to comprehend it and how much GDP she's added to the NFL.
Yeah.
It's insane. But when you look at reverence, you can't quantify or you can't place a value on it. And I think that speaks to Beyonce being our queen. And we always talk about royalty.
Yeah.
Like, why can't we have royalty while we're alive? And, we have our basketball royalty. I've spoken about that with LeBron and his lineage with his 2 boys and his daughter. Just a family there. But Beyonce and Jay-Z are the real royalty for our community. And it showed she's got a line of 70-ish people lined up to take a picture of her. Like, these are other people's royalty.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No,
Like,
for
that's
sure.
crazy.
I mean, shit, walking godly form around immortal men, like crazy shit.
Mm-hmm.
And that was pretty dope to see. I feel like that was your favorite celebrity's favorite celebrity. So that was a highlight from the show, considering. Speaking of the Grammys, it's a perfect time to dive in. I heard them say. And, it's a space where we go to the streets and hear what they've been saying. So,
They always got something to say.
and yes, of course, they always have something to say. And this next person is somebody they always talk about, which is Taylor Swift. And word on the street is they saying as much as people get tired of seeing Taylor Swift at football games, they're saying if she really wanted to, she should probably charge a check for her presence at the football game. Because what they say, the Chiefs have gone up, NFL has made over $330 million since she's been involved with the NFL, or at the games at the NFL. How do you feel about that, bro? That's kind of crazy, G.
Well, being who I am, naturally, I would say, where's my check if I'm her?
Yeah.
And so I have to look at it from that vantage point. But being a real sporting event fan, sports fan, I feel like that conversation takes away from the actual sport. But but looking back, I don't think it has. It's been some amazing games.
Yeah.
The NFL's been killing it. And I was just looking at something not so long ago where they were saying all of these leagues are set up as entertainment.
Yeah.
Entertainment first, sports second. Or entertainment business, then sports. Who knows what the order of relevance is for them.
As long as the outcome is income.
There you go. And so instantly I'm thinking, will this formula will someone try to replicate it? Who would be the equivalent of a Taylor Swift? Because obviously it's not. I don't think it's Kendall.
It can't be Kendall, but at the same time, that Kardashian family has a lot of influence. So, who's out there that's that big of a deal? Adele? I mean, Rich Paul got her. And they don't even show Adele that much, and she be at a lot of LeBron games.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know either.
I'm trying to be nice in how I say this, but Taylor Swift has a middle America appeal to her.
Yeah, of course.
Where it's on the surface. And so it's not a knock on her, but it's more appealing based on what's presented to you. Because someone asked Aretha Franklin what she thought about a bunch of folks. Alicia Keys, great piano player, great writer. Beyonce, great performer, great singer. Someone else, great voice. And they said, Taylor Swift. You know what she said?
What did she say?
She has nice gowns.
Damn.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, there's a cultural difference there that we may not understand, and we have to just take it for what it is, and that she just has this mass appeal that can't be replicated.
No, you're right.
Make another Hove. Jay said that's some say make another. Some say they made Hove. Okay, so make another Hove, because he can't be replicated. Maybe in this situation, Taylor Swift can't be replicated. Because she just broke a Grammy record.
They saying shit, if you can't get the Super Bowl in your town, you might as well book a Taylor Swift concert, because that's going to clear that and then some for the economy. So I know. So right now, Linden Tree reported 39% of 11 to 26-year-olds admitted that Taylor Swift influenced them into purchasing sports gear. That is that's crazy, man.
But we'll have a Dapper Dan.
Starbucks of a human.
But we'll have a Dapper Dan.
You're right.
Or we'll have our Virgil, or we'll have our Kanye, but we're not. Our culture isn't allowed to say his name anymore.
Yeah. No, I'm only giving her props. I shit on her so much. So like at one point I'm like, damn, I need some facts. Like
No.
And that's it. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh, these some facts, dog. Like this is just like it's mind blowing regardless. Like
I respect it.
If you can't get the Super Bowl, just book a Taylor Swift concert. Drake even said I'm only dodging Taylor Swift dates. That's just bizarre.
Yeah.
It's almost as crazy as what did Michael Che say about gentrification? He was saying, the SNL guy, he's like, you know how popular you got to be. He's like, if a white woman is here, the value's going to add up. It's going to go up off the rip. It's like, do you know how popular you got to be to gentrify a spot like Brooklyn? Brooklyn. It's like, or like they say,
I don't even think people comprehend what we're saying, to be honest.
No, and I dig that. And like Lupe said, man, sometimes, you're going to dumb it down. My fault. You know how I feel. But you can't really do it, G.
Don't edit that N-word out.
Yeah, don't edit that out. But that's real, bruh. So we'll talk about it later, man.
Point forward.
All right. A lot of conversation over the last week. Some scenarios and situations with players and injuries around the 65 NBA game rule and why it's here to stay. I've had some really good conversations on both sides.
Yeah, for sure.
So here's my point of view, right? And when I have to be cautious. But I do feel like we are an 82-game league. Now, winning a handful of championships, you understand how important it is to pace yourself throughout the season, especially if you're defending over and over and over again. But in the same breath, you don't want there to be such significant financial ramifications behind a rule like this because of an unfortunate event like a guy getting hurt.
I'm like
Tyrese Halliburton situation. And so the words of the week have been unintended consequences. And it's coming from load management, and then you hear the fans having negative reaction to load management, and then you have a dynasty like the Warriors, and then you're on the road, and then you start seeing fans with signs saying, I traveled all the way from Mars.
Yeah.
I traveled all the way from the space station. I traveled all the way across the galaxy to see this game. And then you get letters to the NBA and sponsors saying, I paid all this money to come see you play. Why aren't you playing? It happened to me one time. I never forget. Some kids, it was a son and father in the stands, and he was looking at me. He was like, I brought my son on the way here to see you play. And I'm looking at him in the manner of, you're not telling the truth. He's like, no, I really came here to see you play. And my reaction was, I play with Steph, Clay, Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
You came to see them play. Like, I'm just kind of like doing what Draymond's doing. I'm playing defense, and I'm just getting out the way.
Yeah.
I'm just making sure, I'll do my job. Like, ain't nobody coming here to see me play. That's just how I approached it.
Yeah.
I know
you look at the jersey, shit, signs all point to it.
Right.
Sometimes you're like, no, I'm just part of the group. Yeah.
And so it was weird to see that. And so he was like, no, I'm really serious. Like, my son came, and I wasn't thinking of it in the moment, but I'm year 14, 15. I done played all these games. Like, no, it's a lot different than my fourth, fifth year in the league where I'm playing 82 games a night, 42 minutes. Like, I did that. Like, I really did that. Like, I led the league in minutes. Yeah. I couldn't believe I did that. But looking back, it was, that was crazy. How many minutes we were playing. But it's just been getting a lot of discussions the last week. And, what are your thoughts on it?
I think as anything, when media focuses on it, you can always pay attention to the bad. So you're looking at, favorites like Joel Embiid, Tyrese Halliburton. They're going to be penalized, or Tyrese could be at risk being penalized for these, particular rule. I think one thing that has occurred is like, shit, besides that, most of the dudes have really been playing. You look at dudes like Kawhi Leonard, he's on pace to play more than he's ever played. You know what I mean?
With the Spurs.
The Spurs, you know what I'm saying? You dive deeper into it. There's a lot of dudes that's still pushing through the game, and on top of it, I think it's a 6-month season. you're technically allowed to miss 3 games a month, dog. Like, think about, like, I done went 4 or 5 seasons playing 82, 81 games. You went how many seasons without missing? Like, bro, to be able to miss 3 games a month, it's crazy. You know what I mean? And I think, like, what occurs with the cons that we might not always necessarily know, because if you look at the past few All-NBA teams, like, in 2022, 2023, 11 out of 15 players from the All-NBA teams play under 70 games. And you look at, Giannis last season, he played 63. You look at, Damian Lillard, he played 58. You look at Steph, he played 56. LeBron played 55. Shit, Jimmy played 64, and he's supposed to be, Superman. So, I mean, when you're looking at this right now, I guess, like, the con is that I guess some of our top players, if you're looking at it, this might affect them the most.
So my question will be to the voters, what's their criteria for voting on the All-NBA team? Like, what's your list of criteria that you look at to see whether you put a guy on a list? Because body of work is probably one of those things, right?
Yeah, I totally think so. That matters. You got to get different people to vote for the All-NBA teams regardless, bro. Like, because I want to know their criteria. Like, you understand what I'm saying?
You brought up a great point.
Yeah, because you're talking to a bunch of people that don't know basketball.
Because it would actually alleviate this rule, to be quite honest.
Yeah, because when you sit there, it's like, yo, Joel only plays 58 games, but, bro, he had one of the most unbelievable seasons in history. Yeah. We're going to let that 7 go.
Exactly.
And that's just like, it's how you know it's okay. The guy said it. Let's go check with past. And when you do Naismith will ask the former winners who they think should be a Naismith Player of the Year. It's like the same thing with like what Shaq said. Like, nah, bro, I've been certified. Like, fuck what, like, the media talking about. Like, I talked to Bill Russell, I talked to Kareem. Like, I'm stamped, and I feel as though when it's coming down to shaking things up and having those conversations, I feel like there'll be natural exceptions that you have to really mark in. Like, come on, bro, like. Halliburton slips on a wet floor because the ball boy don't. So now he's $40 million out because naturally a 16-year-old kid might have slipped up and missed a spot.
Yeah, you're speaking.
Like, I'm just saying, like, when we're sitting there, it's like, nah, like, give honor amongst these as well. It's like when I talked to Tatum. Like, yeah, you can stay in all the game and play 48 minutes, but, like, you a cold dude. Your job should be over by third quarter with a towel on. And we all know, like, the difference of the levels. Yeah. And I feel like that's where I feel like even if we switched up, like, who gets to vote, they comprehend what that means. If my man Tatum's averaging 28 while 2 other people are averaging 22, put him higher on a MVP list. Like, you understand what I'm saying? Like, that type of stuff. But
right.
I think when we're talking about the mentality of the game and you're talking about just pushing through, there's nothing wrong with telling folks to push through. And I think, like, bro, to be able to miss 3 games a month and All-Star break is like literally a week long, G. Man, unless that shit ain't broke, man, go get your paper, cuz.
And I will end it here. No ducking matchups. How about that?
That's it.
Point. Forward.
So, Dre, we saw Devin Booker lose in both his big scoring outputs, 52 at New Orleans and 62 at Indiana. And even when he dropped 70 versus Celtics, he still lost. Along with Steph losing after dropping 60 in the Warriors' recent loss in overtime versus the baby Steph Curry, Trae Young. So if you score 50 or more points, what's this? My fault, G.
No, I understand what you meant. Like,
no, it is a dude averaging 29 and 11. God, shit, what did it take to be an All-Star?
A win.
Bro, that's if I got 29-11, fuck you, G.
What you say to me?
Oh, yeah, if I get 29-11, you know what I'm doing.
We get a W.
You know
That's what I'm saying.
You know what I'm doing, too. So, think about it. So, never mind, Trae Young. Stay at the crib. Your ass in the way. But anyway, shout out to you for Player of the Week. Trae Young was Player of the Week.
Oh, nice.
He bounced back like a G.
Oh, no, he took out Steph. He took out Bron. And he took out... Oh, he took out KD.
So we're asking right now, we asked our friends at DraftKings to tell us what the odds are for a player scoring over 50 points and their team winning that game.
Interesting.
It's interesting. This is crazy. So go kill yourself, basically.
The odds are, yes, they win the game is at a -300. That's an implied probability of you're supposed to win 75% of the time, and then no is at plus 250. So if a guy is going on a crazy scoring binge, I think we saw Luka and Devin Booker go crazy on the same night, and Luka won, and I think Book lost that night.
Yeah, Book lost that night.
Yeah. So there goes your odds. I guess that might be, you can track those because them dudes was putting up like 25 in the first quarter.
Yeah.
So you can look who they're playing, and you can make a bet on if they can get to 50, whether they'll win or they lose. That's a crazy bet.
Yeah. And not only that, bro, when you're breaking down, like, the Suns, it's like somebody get 40 every other week. Is one dude just shooting the whole, you know what I mean? Like, Bill had like 3 40-point games already. I'm like, bro, so who's on that team?
Yeah.
No, but look, bro. So we spoke earlier. You text me. But we have this conversation about the 50s. We go tough on Trey. We go tough on the Devin Booker. Whoever's beige, we usually go tough on.
Right.
Besides this one individual beige man, the leader of the platoon. You text me and said, does Steph get the same criticism for that 60?
And they lost.
And I said, nah. You said, why? And I said, that's Steph. And you want to know why? Because it's a deeper conversation. Do Steph get, like, credit for being a real and just letting his homies drown him at sea?
Looking for a super offer for Super Bowl 58? DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered. New customers can bet on the big game and turn $5 into $200 instantly in bonus bets.
Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code POINTFORWARD. New customers can bet $5 to get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 58. With code POINTFORWARD, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Or in West Virginia, visit www.1-800-GAMBLER.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas. 21 plus. Age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/football for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources.
Now this is real. To open up our segment, That's a Bar, and considering it's Black History Month right now, we're going to open up with a Black History Month bar.
So speaking of
I state the stat to stunt. I don't need the front. Make Black history every day. I don't need a month. Who said that?
Well, I do prep the writings of the writer, which is Evan Turner, so I do know that it's Kanye West. But I didn't know that as I was reading it. What song is that on?
So if you're really a Ye fan before he fell off. No, so basically the Def Comedy Jam poetry.
Oh.
When he had all like the Louis Vuitton luggage and stuff, and before he really started doing the bittersweet poetry.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, speaking of African American History Month and building things and not getting credit for it, Doc Rivers speaks on, quote, "This is ridiculously bad. It really is." Rivers said of getting the All-Star nod after one win. So Doc Rivers is the coach for the Eastern Conference All-Stars in the upcoming All-Star game. He also says, quote, "Well, Adrian's going to get some money, that's for sure, and a ring. It's one of these quirky things. I think there should be a rule somehow that someone else does it other than me," unquote. But he got the job.
And this is another moment in Black History Month. Doc Rivers is the first black man in history to have white privilege. Look at all this luck this man be having. He basically Danny Ainge, dog. I'm saying like luck, not like white privilege. I'm just saying like, damn, my G, like
they did some racist stuff to him when he was in Orlando.
I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying like this is a win. Yo, okay, I'm about to say like this is a win, bro. Like shit, Doc always up, bro. This man got $40 million after retiring.
I think the more interesting thing is you have a coach get fired, and he technically is the best coach in the conference because he got the privilege of being the Eastern Conference head coach for the All-Star team. This is interesting.
What do you say?
How did this happen?
I don't know, but what do you say?
I mean, you got a good relationship with some folks who were.
I know. I'm finna pull that Andre. Oh, I don't know. But imagine you were Adrian Griffin, your head down, you upset. You did enough to be an NBA All-Star coach. I'm sure that's a pinnacle. And then you see some old dude tap you on your shoulder, say, "Here, kid, pass you a pity ring and a check." You gonna take it, or you ripping that bad boy out?
No, you gotta. I wouldn't think in those ways. I'm saying I'm taking the money, I'm taking the ring, and I'm auctioning it off for my personal gain. Think about this. How many people have an All-Star Game ring?
You're right.
That wasn't a part of a bankruptcy situation.
And it's a big moment in that as well. I'm wondering, like, obviously, forget coaching. When you lose a job like this, or like forget the All-Star Game coach, will he ever be a head coach again? He got fired within what, 2.5, 3 months?
I mean, I would hope so.
That's tough,
I
bro.
had my job longer than he did.
What were you telling, G? And that's what I'm saying. Like, you look at Jock Vaughn after that happened in Orlando back in the day.
I didn't think he's gonna get another job.
It took him 11, 12 years for them to fire a dude that wasn't even supposed to be a head coach in general.
Yeah.
And Steve Nash would be like, "Oh, you been doing this?
Yeah.
Take that job." You know what I'm saying? That's what's so tough about when you're talking about, like, it's ridiculously bad. It's just, he might not ever get a job again, on top of the fact that he coached well enough for the dude behind him that's 1-4 currently to make the All-Star game. Like, the public embarrassment is enough based off the fact that, like, how hype was he in September?
Right.
Now, bro, that shit, man, that's some I'm fired shit, and come back with that thing.
I mean, I look at it like Frank Vogel went and won a championship, got fired the next year, then got right back on.
Yeah, but you want a chip, though.
That's what I'm saying.
Point. Forward.
All right, we ended on All-Star Snubs. Why?
Bet.
Like, the criteria is crazy. We saying Trae Young didn't win enough to be an All-Star again.
Yeah.
But
I want to call
Sabonis and
De'Aaron Fox.
De'Aaron Fox.
But then it's what happens again, bro, and it's tough. You do the head-to-head. The Kings took out the Warriors.
Mm-hmm.
You can arguably say that De'Aaron outplayed Steph during that time. During those two head-to-head games, that's all I'm saying. Bro, I just gave
I
that.
saw the games.
So what they do then?
They evened it out. Steph might have him barely on the numbers.
Oh, no, I think Steph probably won a battle. I'm just saying what tipped it was the win. Like, what else could they argue besides them killing and being like, well, head-to-head, we beat the Warriors, my nigga.
I'm just looking at their record.
What's their record? They're six. They're
They're
top
like
six.
fifth.
Fifth. That's what I'm saying. Like, in the
But there's four guys that made the All-Star team that are lower than them.
Steph, LeBron, AD.
Mm-hmm.
And who's the last?
Who else made the All-Star team? Dang, that's crazy. Nobody from the Kings made
Yeah,
it.
that's OD, G. It's one of them times, man.
Should have AD had made it?
People say he shouldn't have, but I think so. I thought AD was like the most consistent playing one, to be honest.
He
with you.
was.
I thought he'd been doing everything.
He has.
Yeah.
He has.
I think now they just don't want to pay attention to him playing hard as hell and like what they've been asking him.
He been doing his job.
Yeah, like
And above and beyond.
available and everything. Yeah. Now people just be like, oh.
And the Minnesota Timberwolves are the number one team in the West. Their coach is coaching the Western Conference All-Star game.
Oh, then never mind. Shout
Yeah.
out to Karl Anthony Townsend,
Yeah.
man. Fuck. We must not be watching the game.
This week, we chopped it up with our good friend Joakim Noah. Everything from his insane run with the Bulls to putting the Basketball Africa League on the map. Tap in.
So, Joakim, I read an article recently where you said you're endeavoring to curve out your unique legacy. So where did that uniqueness start from? Like, take us back to the beginning. 'Cause I know you're, like coming from a melting pot. We just spoke on how you basically are like a Renaissance man in that sense.
Well, first and foremost, I just want to thank you guys for taking the time. We used to compete. It was always a war against you guys. You used to talk a lot of shit. I remember that. Andre used to get buckets and then his arms would get low like a gorilla and flexing. So it's just like good now that we're done to be able to, take a step back and look back what we went through, like the blessings, and be able to talk about the next steps in life. So I just want to say I appreciate you guys for having me.
Oh no, thanks for pulling up, man.
For sure.
Yeah, you always been one of our favorites.
Yes.
And Joakim, even just hooping, in Chicago and stuff, you were a moment, you were a time, you still are. So we were hyped when our man Art of Rebound was like, no, I can get Joakim. I'm like, if you can get Joakim, everybody in the chat was lit. Like, yo, we're getting Joakim. So
Yeah, appreciate
that
you.
meant a lot, bro. And you know, even just get you in, pause, and open up a little bit more, pause. And I think your story is definitely a dope story. And like I said earlier, like reading your background is one of the most unique things. I wish my kid was that diverse with that many opportunities, because when you meet you from the get-go, it's always like a down-to-earth, you know what I mean, somebody whose foot touched the ground. And I've always admired that about you, and how you lit up rooms when you walked in, or even when you used to get hate a lot when you left Florida, and it was like it never bothered you. You still went right back to win, still be Joakim.
Thanks, man.
No doubt.
Appreciate that.
It's only like a certain people. I say it to ET all the time. It's only certain people when they enter the room, that energy shift, and like you're one of those people. And your stature, of course, but I think it's the way you carry it. Like you just uplift everybody. And going kind of back to what ET was saying in terms of endeavoring to carve your unique legacy. When did you realize you are who you become?
I don't think that I see it like that. I just come from, I'm a third generation athlete. My grandfather was from Cameroon. He was a soccer player, only black guy playing on the Sedan team, and they won the championship in France. And then, Dad had his story as well. Left Cameroon at 11 years old. Arthur Ashe found him playing with the wood paddle, and gave him an opportunity to go to a school in France, a boarding school in France. So, and then 5-6 years later, he was the best player in France, and ended up playing Wimbledon with Arthur Ashe. So, I think that being able to have a father figure who was very known, winning the French Open, dreads, black guy. I grew up around that, where my dad was very known, and I wanted to have my own voice. I felt like I wasn't being heard. I couldn't express myself, and that's what basketball allowed me to do. So, even though my parents divorced, I was very young. I don't remember. We moved to New York City. And, I love basketball. So to play basketball in this city is really unique. And to be able to, compete, you're playing against kids who are surviving out here. They looking at basketball in a completely different context. Like, they trying to feed their families. It's a whole, so that was kind of like the energy that, I was groomed in. So to me, like, New York is the melting pot. Like, this is not, just the way I am is because of places like this, and my family. So,
what age did you move to New York?
I was 12.
You were 12, and you lived in Paris from like 3 to 12, right?
3 to 12. That's
so what
right.
were those early days like? And what was were you playing basketball around that time, or was it when you got to New York? You just heard a bunch of "fuck out of here" from the court, and you was like, "Nah, big man, get your ass underneath the rim."
You know what? Like, Paris was. My childhood was great. I'll never forget. I lived with my mom on the week. During the week, she would take me to school and everything, take me to basketball practice. But then on the weekends, I would stay with my father, and he played with the real. I remember him like teaching me how to ride a bike, and he would go jogging. And so I would always have that education of what it takes to be a professional athlete. He taught me how to fight through fatigue. And that's the best gift my dad ever gave me. Like, I grew up a privileged kid, and you guys are all gonna have to, we all have to deal with that with our kids, but that's what he taught me, is just like endurance and fighting through the red, being in the red. And I feel like, people always said like that was one of my strengths when I played. And it was because of these things that my dad taught me, like wake up in the morning, 6 a.m. At first I would take the bike and, he would jog for 30, 40 minutes. And then at the end of the jog, it's like, sprint that shit out, until you're exhausted, and then let's run 5 more sprints, So that was kind of my education. I just seeing how hard he worked, the discipline every day. He was a party guy too, but it was. I think that's the biggest thing that I learned from my dad is just being able to train through fatigue, and so I would say that was my childhood.
And he would take you back to like Cameroon a lot to see your grandfather and great grandma too as well.
That's right.
What was that like, and what did you learn from him? Because to a certain extent, you could say the OG was your granddad that started it all, and what did you see from there? We were just talking earlier, when you go to Africa, as a young black man, you feel like you get so much strength from seeing where you're rooted at. What did that do for you as a youth?
Africa is a very special place. It's a very charged place, and it's hard to put into words. But as soon as you step on the motherland, it's a different energy. It's a different vibe. And I don't know, it just gave me a lot of strength. Every time I would go back, I remember being a kid, I remember Santa Claus was black. And I was like, Dad, Santa Claus is black? He's like, yeah, Santa Claus is black in Africa, yeah.
Well, that's a big
in my
deal.
house too.
But like in the 90s, like that's a big deal to see or even hear, bro. Like, back in the day.
So no, Africa for real, it was a big part of my identity. I was always very proud to be from there. That's the way I was raised. And, my mother also being Swedish, I would go back over there as well. So, that's that Viking blood. They, they talking about Valhalla, and it's a whole different culture. So culturally, it couldn't have been more opposite. So,
and your mother was like, she was Miss Sweden, right?
My mom was Miss Sweden. But my mom's like a blonde lady you would never know, but she's a Rasta woman, very very free spirit, always making sure we hugging trees and just the hippie vibe. But it's a very, very special woman. And one thing that they all shared is just the social work. It was always about giving back. My grandmother in Africa has a school that's still there from 70 years ago. It's still going today. And my mother works with me with Noah's Ark Foundation. And Dad has done a lot of unbelievable stuff too in France, just with Faites le Mur, building tennis courts, in the projects all over France. So I was raised in that environment, the social, just social work and the education of, when you're an athlete, it's about more than being an athlete. It's about giving back to the communities that need it, and I got to see that with my family.
Well, let's go more into Noah's Ark. You started that in 2010. Obviously, we have Sean ties to the Chicago area. What was that about, and what was like your intention towards it? I see you do a lot. You're not like one of those like attention whores where it comes to like philanthropic work. You do something that's authentic to yourself. So what about like Noah's Ark that made you want to start the foundation, but also to dive deeper into some the trials and tribulations in the city of Chicago, which is tough. Like,
good question. When you play for the Bulls, I always knew that this was something that was really special because it's one of the most recognizable logos in sports, period. Yeah. And, when you play for a team like that, you have a responsibility to give back. And that's, like we were talking about, I was raised that way. And, as you play over there, you realize there's a real toughness about that city. So I always wanted to represent that, when I played the game. And then with my mom, my mom came, I think it was her first time coming to Chicago, my first year. And my mom went to a community center on the west side, Major Adams. She knocked on the door and she said, okay, like, you guys, what are your needs? Can we help? And so we've been going to Major Adams for 15 years. And, you know, it was never about promotion or trying to, it was always about what can we do to help. And then in my second year, I also saw a documentary called The Interrupters by Alex Kotlowitz. Shout out Alex Kotlowitz, one of my mentors, same guy who did the documentary Hoop Dreams.
Yeah.
And that documentary it changed my life. And I remember writing a tweet about it and saying, wow, I just saw this documentary. It's unbelievable. Anybody wants to learn or educate themselves on the violence in Chicago, please watch this documentary. And the main guy in the documentary hit me up right away. Kobe Williams, who's one of my big brothers, who all of the work I've done in Chicago was with him.
Yeah.
And I feel really blessed because it could have been any idiot off the street and it ended up working out.
Yeah.
And the guy is just, to me, he's a real angel. You know, he changed his life around, went through it all, and somebody who can navigate the city. You know how difficult it is to navigate in that city because everybody's looking, what neighborhood are you from?
Yeah.
What set do you represent? This and this and that. He's able to navigate the whole city. And I feel really blessed to be able to work with him. We started a basketball league called One City, a kind of peace league where we work with 28 different violence prevention groups, and everybody brings their 10. And you know what? We've been doing it for a long time. We brought it back. You know, I was using all my sponsorship money when I was playing, and when I was done, I was like, yo, I can't do this anymore. This can't come out of pocket.
Yeah.
And so I ended up going to Springfield and, you know, meeting the governor.
Right.
And I told him straight up, I was like, look, like, I can't pay for these programs anymore. I've been doing this for over 10 years. I need help. And we just got our state budget 6 months ago. So I'm really, really happy about that, being the first athlete to be able to get some state funding and do these violence prevention programs. So I'm hoping that other guys can see this as well and you know, get inspired and be able to use, you know, talk to their governors or the mayors, or, you know, and be able to do social work, you know.
Yeah. So you say that the players can get paid.
The players in the league are getting paid. So we end up getting the funding, and what we're doing is we're paying the players $50 a game.
That's all right, G. I like that,
And
man.
they can get like skills and classes and financial literacy, all those
right.
things.
So we're not looking for the next NBA player. You know, this is about working with the shorties that need it, you know. The thing is, the basketball got a little competitive, so guys are starting to bring the best players from their side.
Yeah.
So it was like, it's important for us to also realize, like, we're trying to work with a certain demographic, right?
Yeah.
But overall, this summer has been really special. You know, I think Tony Allen, big shout out to Tony Allen. He's with us right now, and he's gonna come in the next couple of weeks. We starting again, so we're doing this three times a year.
Okay.
They're 10-week league. The leagues are for 10 weeks.
Yeah.
So we try to have one in the summer, we have one in the winter, and in the spring. Yeah. So and we're able to pay our participants. So to me, that's the best part. We hook them through the basketball, and then the most important part is being able to work with people who are willing to help with financial, you know, different programs outside of it. So financial literacy or job opportunities, job education, you know. So we're always trying to make our program stronger. And it's only the beginning, man. We're really hype about this. And shout out to Tony Allen for coming on board and helping us, you know, he's another guy from Chicago,
Yeah.
another guy that we used to battle, had huge battles. And that, to me, the beauty of this whole thing is putting, being able to put all our shit to the side to build this ecosystem, you know? This is not about, I'm not making any money off this. It's not about us making any money. It's about helping our communities.
And speaking of which, I mean, obviously he wasn't, a foe, but what you're doing with Luol Deng and what he's able to do to Basketball Africa League, and I've seen you've been super excited about that. But let's dive deep into that and talk about what Luol has done and how he's been able to, bring you along with Derrick Rose, and you guys been doing a lot of big things out there.
I appreciate that, man. You're asking a lot of good questions, man. Not a lot of people ask these questions, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, no doubt.
Luol has always been a real inspiration to me. I sat next to Luol on the plane for 8 years, and Luol was a refugee, So, when you come from that kind of pain, it's very, very impressive to see what he's been through, and what he's able to do right now is beyond words. I mean, I really feel like you have to understand South Sudan is the youngest country in the world. South Sudan got its independence 6 years ago. He built the first courts in that country. He brought his high school coach. He brought Royale Ivy.
Yeah.
He brought them to South Sudan. They were practicing on an outdoor court, and they qualified for the Olympics.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, Luol is like the most inspiring person to me, and talk about the social work that he's doing and what the empowering youth in developing basketball, where basketball didn't even exist. When you even think of like the history of that place, and you think of like one of our great ambassadors for African players was a guy called Manute Bol.
Yeah, he built that hospital, right?
Mm-hmm. He built a hospital. He used to give his check to villages in South Sudan so that they can get weapons to protect themselves from being ravaged. That's what Manute Bol was doing, to protect themselves from the north, yes. And he was giving his whole check to protect the villages and then when you think of the next generation, Luol Deng becomes the president of the Basketball Federation and qualifies for the Olympics on the first try.
Yeah.
That's the kind of human we're dealing with. I'm going to France. Like, I don't care if they play USA. I don't care if they play France. I'm for South Sudan. This is bigger than anything. Mm-hmm. So a big, big love for Luol Deng, everything he's done. Going from South Sudan, having to leave his people, moving to Egypt, where, he was not welcome as a black man, going to England, leaving England, going to Blair Academy, growing, becoming a basketball player, going to Duke. People think, oh, okay, because he went to, no. This guy has a real story. His background is deep.
Yeah, Royale told me he came over here, didn't even have shoes. So, I remember one time I made a joke, about Luol, is he nice, he this, that, and the third? And Royale was like, bro, no slander, no nothing. I literally saw my man with no shoes. And he's an all-star. Mm-hmm. Literally, he's like, no slander, no nothing. When I tell you they didn't even have a coat, he's like, didn't have shit. He's like, my man is eating. So it's
No, you remember when we did the pod, and I was the guest of our pod, and you asked me who were some of the players you wish you could have locked in with, and I was like, Luol Deng, with no question, because we was competing so hard. Luol was the 6th pick, I was the 9th pick, so it was always that in class battle, where it's we the same position. You know what I'm saying? The Bulls could have picked me twice. They passed up, went to him. So every time I seen him, we always knew, like, yo, it's a battle tonight. But I never got to lock in with him because of that. And that's what be the sad part about the league. It's like, yes, you should have that battle, but when we step off the court, we should be able to build and break bread. And it was always, like, frowned upon. So, like,
always wanted to fight and shit, bro.
It takes time. I didn't get that from them, though.
I feel like something weird will always happen every time. Like your ankle injury, when people were booing, when you got injured or cheered, that was crazy.
Yeah.
I feel like it was always like some static in those. I mean, they play with a chip now, man. Like those Bulls days was tough.
It was honestly, yo,
Those are fun
I'm
times.
happy that we're talking about it because, you know, I'm not gonna lie to you. Even not long ago, doing this was not part of like that was not I was not raised to do this. Like Ben Wallace, people like that would not be like. They would tell me when I was a rookie, like, yo, we're not friends with other people, like other teams. It's like fuck the other side. Like that was the energy my OGs raised me on, you know? And then, you know, same thing with KG. It was like my rookie year, he was my hero. And then he fucking shit all over me. And I was like, yo, never again will that ever happen in front of 20,000 people, somebody trying to do me like that. Like, nah, fuck that. So, and even with y'all, it was always like, we used to go at it all the time.
Yeah, we almost fought one time. Like, no, one time we fought. I don't know how it happened, but I just know we just came nose to nose, Paul, and we were just like, I was like, fuck it, I guess I'm fighting Joakim. And they got stopped like right the second, remember that? The second it stopped, we went face to face. And he spared me, I guess, man. I don't know. But it was a hot 22 seconds.
But we wasn't like the city of Cleveland.
No, true. But even you go back there and you're always like kind of, you know, so open and outspoken. Besides making a statement about the city of Cleveland, you're brave enough to even, when Brian had his little dance and antics and stuff, like, bro, that's just corny, dog. Like, corny. Like, when you go back to those moments and, like, those up and down moments where you become, like, the villain, how did you used to, you know, use that to fill yourself in order to become, you know, Defensive Player of the Year, you know, top 5 in MVP voting and all those type of things. And even playing for Tibbs, who, you know, certain people, you be playing 43, 44 minutes a night, doc. 43, 44 minutes a night, dog. I'm like, man, y'all better be an all-star shit.
He used to kill Lou out.
Kid, bro, Lou was in the hospital for like 3 weeks. G off that. Like,
that happened. That happened.
And then Tibbs would be complaining, like, they saying I can't play my guys. Like, yeah, after surgery, you can't play them 45 minutes, Tibbs.
For real.
Let the stitches heal.
Shout out to Tibbs. You know, it was when you have that hope of winning a championship, it's you're willing to go places like you didn't even think you could go to. You know, I would, like, whatever it took to get there, I would do it.
Yeah.
You know, that was kind of like my mentality at the time. Did it cut my career short? It probably did, but, you know, I only knew one pace.
Yeah.
I played at one pace. I played with a certain intensity, and, you know, the way that I played was not geared towards longevity. I wasn't out there shooting corner threes, you know what I'm saying? It was like I was out there every time the ball went up, I was going for the rebound. It wasn't, sometimes I'm going. No, it was every single time. Yeah. And you know what? That's why when people, sometimes I'll be walking or something and people show me love in the street, like, yo, salute how you played the game. To me, that's the biggest compliment, you know? And look, we were going for it. You know, we had a certain style of play. And, you know, we didn't win a championship. You know, you got to give credit when credit is due. Yes, in battle, when you compete. All that talking shit, it happens. It's competition is not always pretty. You know, it's also ugly. And I think that's what people love about it, because it's like the only thing that's real. You know, is competition's a motherfucker. That's just the way it is. But as you get older, you know, some people can, you know, put that shit to the side and then live their lives. Like, I wasn't that guy. I was not. I couldn't sleep after we won. I couldn't sleep after we lost. Like, I lived this shit.
Mm-hmm. And the city lived it too. I mean, just being outside looking in, just having friends from Chicago and everything, being like, no, we supposed to have a chip this year. We supposed to have a chip that year. Even the year when D Rose went down, like you guys finished first in the East, and you guys felt like you had the best shot to compete with the Heat. What do you remember about some of those battles? And when you look back on it, because sometimes you might be in position to be like, we got them. But what did you think about the Heatles, and how could you compare them to some of those battles you had? Like versus, you guys had the best first round ever versus Celtics back in, what was that, 09?
Mm-hmm. That was BG.
That was D Rose, right. BG. Bro, that shit was crazy. Y'all had the city popping, shit.
Thanks, bro. I mean, look, we even competed against you guys. You guys beat us in 1 year as well.
Oh, yeah.
2012.
2012. Yeah. So, it's funny because, when you're on top, you think it's going to last forever. And it can be taken away from you so quick, To me, what I'm really proud of those teams, even though we never won a championship, the thing I'm most proud is, like, my brotherhood with Luol and Pooh and the guys from those teams are still, like, some of my best friends today. And I realize that that's rare. Mm-hmm. Like, I've done trips to Africa with Derek and trips with Luol to Africa, and that to me is bigger than winning a championship, and I have to tell myself that because I have to sleep at night, because I'm not gonna lie, it's tough, like there's nothing more in my life than I wanted to win with the Bulls, and we fell short, injuries, I think that the first time we played the Heat, we were like, yo, okay, they beat us, but we're coming in stronger. We're young. We feel like we have a 10-year window. And, it didn't work. Like life doesn't work that way. So
I felt you, because I remember when D Rose, he went down against us, and you said that was like equivalent to like 9/11. And I remember D Rose got hurt that day, and I went to middle school with Iman Shumpert. He got hurt that day.
Oh, I didn't know he got.
They both tore the ACL, but I remember sitting down and just being like, talking to my buddy Will Buford, like, bro, this shit is, like, what does this mean? Like, he's hurt. I mean, that was huge for the city of basketball, but just for, that point guard situation. But one thing I always remember was you guys always had, like, effective point guards afterwards. So what was it about that system where, guys like Lucas and, C.J. Watson, Nate Robinson. It was always the one man and the three man going crazy.
Yeah.
I mean,
Tibbs' system.
Tibbs had,
you see he's going crazy right now?
Yeah, true.
He's going crazy right now.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Tibbs is special, man. He was a great coach. What makes me happy is, like, there's no bitterness anymore. Like, I can look back. I'm really proud of those teams that we played on, I think that everybody came in and gave it 150%. And that's all you can really ask for, Like, go all out and then live with the results, Injuries, I don't care who it is, it's tough, and, people process injuries differently. Some people can look back and be bitter for the rest of their life, That's what I'm most proud of about Pooh is I see his family, I see he's at peace. Like, as a man, he's at peace. And to me, that's what I'm the most proud of, because when I see what that guy's been through, and to see him, like, head high, comfortable, no bitterness, it's tough when your city turns on you, like, it's tough. Yeah, like, I lived through.
They booed me when we played y'all. Game one.
It's rough.
Yeah.
It's rough. Yeah. So, no, I'm really proud of that guy and how the way he carries himself. Like, he's a real people's champ, and I'm proud of that.
Yeah, and we're in this phase right now of the game of basketball. Like, we had to put it in a 65-game rule, right, to win awards. And you've been on wax saying you believe that European players work harder than Americans. And And I think it's how we're bringing up our youth basketball. Like I've been on wax saying this. It's our development system where we're building kids to take care of us. We're not building kids to play in the NBA because they love it. I need my son to play in the league so I can enjoy the fruits of his labor. And we've built this sense of entitlement with our kids where we're not teaching them the fundamentals. And so the last few MVPs have been international players. And, I mean, you just spoke passionately about how you felt after a loss. I guess from my position where I'm at, what do you think the game is missing and what needs to come back? Because it feels like, you know, when we were around, like you were trying to play 82 games.
Yeah,
But at the same time, you spoke to it. Did it shorten your career? And so from my seat, how do you try to balance all that out? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, that's real. That's real.
Yeah.
That's real.
It's like, 'cause you want to protect the players, but at the same time, I think sometimes people forget you must protect the game. You have a responsibility to the game. And so I know it's hard for people to hear me say that, but I'm an 82 game guy.
Yeah.
You know? Now, if you are hurt, obviously, you can't hurt yourself. But I do know some things about load management, and I have to be careful how I not give leverage to someone else on my take on load management. Because you do have to build a certain type of load to sustain, to play at a high level so you don't get hurt.
Yeah, that could be a difference between 13 and 17 years, and you go get you 2 chips.
Exactly.
I mean, it's eat off. Like from year 10.
But maybe it worked because I didn't get hurt till like my 9th season. No, my 10th season, I tore a hamstring. You can't mess around with that. And that's the Tyrese Halliburton situation. That was when I was with the Warriors. It was the first time I ever got hurt more than like 2 games.
Yeah.
I was out like 3-4 weeks. I was like, I tried to come back on my own and almost hurt myself by myself. Like, let me walk off.
Yeah, you got to snap your body into like that NBA level of like working, competing, and like getting into the full swing of like the season. Because I think it's 25 games in.
Right. So I guess like how do you we go back to that Europeans versus how Americans are raised and their mentality approaching the game. Like, what mentality should we be teaching our kids?
Geez, that's a great question. I think when it comes to load management, it's complicated. You know, they put the 65 rules in. I understand why they did it, but it's deep because now you're seeing guys like Tyree, you were just saying, how, there's $40 million on the line. And you're out there playing, risking it all to try to get an All-NBA. So I think that every situation is really different. Are you playing for a championship? Because at the end of the day, is this about winning a championship or is this about entertaining? So for a fan, on a fan's perspective, I understand the fan's perspective. I'm paying a lot of money to come and watch this guy play. I understand that piece, but is the mindset about being able to put the guy on the floor all year, or is it about playing in June? Because to me, that's a completely different thing.
Yeah.
So, so that's answering one part of your question. The other one is, yes, I did say that the way that we are raising our athletes in the States is completely different than the way that we're raising our athletes in Europe. The systems are different. In Europe, Real Madrid has a 10-year-old team. Real Madrid has a 12-year-old team, a 14-year-old team, a 16-year-old team. So as a 12-year-old, you can go to the 14-year-old's game. You can go to the 16-year-old games, all the way till in the weekend on Saturdays, the pro play. So the pros play no more than 2 games a week. So imagine the intensity of the game when you're playing once or twice a week. you're waiting for a week to play. Imagine how crazy the NBA was if you played once a week.
No, you in college. I used to be thirsty as hell.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, man, I'm finna give out 80 this week.
That's the energy.
Yeah, that's real. That's real. Yeah. I mean, I could have used that 40. That 82 was kicking my ass.
The 80. That's what I'm saying. To me, I agree.
Check.
No, all right. I could have used. I'll do. That's why I took the 82 and just took my career how it was.
You know, but I always, and I think this is why we hold him at where we hold him. Michael Jordan set the standard, where people don't realize MJ only played 15 years. 2 of them, he was 39, 40 years old.
He took a 2-year break.
And he took a 2-year break in his prime. But he played 82 games a year. But I think I heard David Robinson saying something about him in the Olympics. He's like, listen, man, I hung out with this dude. I watched him play 36 holes of golf after he just bust the best players in the world, bust their ass in practice. Then go to the beach, hang out a little bit, then go back, play cards all night long. And he's like, man, I am dying. I got to go to sleep. Then hearing, like, this dude stayed up all night gambling, hanging out, having fun. Mm-hmm. You know, MJ can gamble. He's a competitor. They had a game the next day. This dude came to shoot around, boom, did his thing. Then game time comes. He was like, this is what I heard David Robinson saying. Maybe he did, maybe he did not say it. He's like, this dude has a deal with the devil. Because he went out and destroyed the team. He was like, I'm struggling to get up for this game, and I know I'm better than everybody, but this dude is full throttle. He is who he is. He was like, he's dancing with the devil. There's no way that this should be something that's real. And I think there's a competitive nature to it because you just spoke to it. Yeah. You didn't sleep when you won. You didn't sleep when you lost because that's just the competitor in you. And we were talking earlier before. You were like, he was asking you, do you miss it? And you was like, man, I just miss like going to hoop. Like I'm gonna get somebody to just work this evening. Yeah. I think that is what might be missing because what are we playing for?
But it's hard to explain that because I'll use you as an example, Joakim. Your mentality, you're a top 5 MVP, you're Defensive Player of the Year, won 2 national titles, like everything you do. You can't shoot 40%. A dude shooting 40% might be playing in a league ahead of Joakim now. So what I'm saying is, like, what are we missing? Is it the mentality that trumps everything? It's like, yo, no matter what, Joakim can lock down a joker in his prime or this and a third? Or does it mean that, like, we're focusing on just a skill set? And most kids being like, fuck winning, I can shoot 36% from the tray. I could dunk this motherfucker, and analytics say, you know, I'm shooting 50 from the 2. Like, that I feel like is missing of like the blend of the game, or just a complete player, like the mentality with the skill set.
Yeah. I mean, to your point, I think that the game, when I look at basketball right now, I don't recognize recognize basketball from when we used to play it. Like when we used to play, I mean, I'm not talking about Golden State because that doesn't count. Because that's a whole other thing.
But people forget we were top 5 in defense.
Oh, no, y'all,
no, for sure.
No, y'all play like 5 different ways. Y'all just unbelievable, bro. Like sometimes, like when
we were
y'all
playing basketball.
Like looking at them now,
sure.
it's a shame because it was like, no, them dudes play like it was like a machine, bro. Y'all always, bro. That was a joke.
Yeah, that was
a joke.
But
bro.
it was just like the way you guys spread the court just revolutionized. It revolutionized the game. So for me, it's like even when we talk about when we used to play in the playoffs and stuff. My boy was like showing me the scores. I'm like, yo, this looks like the scores at halftime. You know what I'm saying?
We only shoot one game. We had 12 threes the most.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
12 threes.
Yeah.
So the game is it's so different now. You can't even compare the eras. The physicality. Like You can't do anything. I saw a dude get a foul call for just.
Oh, you're hitting trash.
You can't. He was hitting.
Yeah.
He's hitting homie like this. Just messing with him. The ref called the foul. I'm like, nah. Like this is crazy.
Ron Artest walk up on you.
Oh my God.
That's what I'm saying.
Scottie Pippen.
The claw. You're like, what? You don't let me go?
No, but I went to my son's high school game recently, and a guy asked me for a picture. And he was a photographer / like doing the highlight stuff. And I was like, I'm saying to him, you're the reason why the game's messed up. And he was like, man, I'm sorry, man. I'm like, no, I'm joking, but We got 8 photographers, camera peoples. Like, the new cool is to be a photographer around high school kids, getting their highlight mixtapes in order. So they under the basket, kids are dunking, pointing at all the cameras, and I'm like, why? This has become the problem because it's not about the competition anymore. Because somebody said, like, yo, your son going to the league because he can shoot and he can defend and he got your last name and he know how to play. But the more you show people you know how to play, the less your value is nowadays, right? This is what you said. And he said, look, man, it don't matter what team you play for. Put him on a good team, get him on a circuit. He only need to make 2 shots a game, and you can put a whole mixtape together, and then that's how you're going to get into college. And then you can ride the wave off your mixtape till you in the league. I was just like, oh, my goodness. But when did this happen?
Deep. It's money now.
Yeah.
These kids are getting money. That's why I love NBA Africa, because it's a different. I promise. It's like even for me, playing in NBA, talking to these kids, they listen. Mm-hmm. These kids don't have the attention span for 2 minutes now. If I'm talking to a high school kid, even with the experience that I had playing in the league, I might get 2-3 minutes out of him.
Yeah, and they might be like, you ain't Jokic. Like, nigga, that's Joakim Noah.
My son teammates, I'd be like, hey, man, they be looking at me like,
who is
man,
this?
I don't wanna hear this today. My bad.
Yeah.
All right, you ain't gonna be shit, and your kids ain't gonna be shit neither.
I wouldn't go that far, but you wild.
Sometimes when they look at you, like, all right, fuck you. Keep going. We gonna wrap up in a second, but that's the truth.
That is.
That's the truth. Normalize arguing with kids because they rude, G. They are rude.
What happened, B?
Nah, you know how kids give you a look. Fuck what you know, old head. The shit you used to say to people. Fuck what you know, old head.
But that's why I love that's why I love the NBA Africa, because these kids are so hungry for knowledge, and any kind of time you could give them, if you can help with any kind of infrastructure. And, I'm not going to lie, like, look, I pay for my ticket, I pay for my hotel room to be here with you guys because I really like what you guys are doing here. And, it's about, for me personally, it's about trying to build an ecosystem where we can help make the game better, And I think that even though I never grew up on the continent, I feel like there is the need for more and better infrastructure and coaching and guys who have experience in the game. If we can build bridges where we can help out these kids, these are the fastest growing youth populations in the world. So if we can gather our resources, build a court, have guys, come and talk to them, do a clinic, talk to coaches, we can build these kind of, and I really feel like for kids in the inner city in America, for them to be able to like know their roots, I think that there's something really special there that's bigger than just basketball. So I think that this is why I'm here today, is to be able to talk to you guys about this kind of vision. You know what I mean? So,
well, I appreciate you pulling up, man. Like ET said, you talk about excited. We don't get excited about too many people, and I think it's just your presence and your morals, your values, what you stand for, and how you've always been that. And so we appreciate you. We've spoken about, things we're going to do in the PA. Like, I'm super excited about that.
That's what's up.
Like, we going to Africa. But I ain't going without you. I ain't going without Luau. I ain't going without Royale. Royale, he was just in the gym a few weeks ago with the young boy Jalen Green. So
that's what's up.
I cannot wait. And like you speaking to it. Like, we're going to start building, man. And it's just a beautiful thing. So I really appreciate you pulling up. And I hope our listeners really can tune in to what's really being said, and it's deeper than just going viral for a highlight explanation, but about real life stuff. So we appreciate you, fam.
Respect, man.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man.
Yep.
Yes.
I appreciate
Respect,
you, my
man.
guy.
Thank you, fam.
Wow.
No, yes,
That was
for
good,
sure.
man.
Yeah, that was good.